And we're live. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining the Agency Operators podcast. Today, I'm here with Farah Rosenzweig, head of content at so many different places over the last 20 years. Right now, she's working at WorkRamp. I was super excited to see that she actually used to work as head of content for ManyChat. That's a service that I've used for many years. So today, we'll be discussing kind of the story and how you got to the place that you're at today. Been in the industry for so long, Emmy nominated and everything. So glad to have you here, Farah. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your story. You've been in this world for over 20 years. That's a long time considering that 20 years ago, branding and advertising was in a very different state. So, how did you get started?
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to do something in the creative world. I actually went to college and studied film and new media. And I started out in traditional broadcasting, worked at a television network, working on storytelling, creating 30-minute programming, worked on some international news, and then eventually went to grad school for multimedia because at that time when I was working at the television network, social media had just started, which is mind boggling to me because social media is such a huge part of our life right now. And just to remember back then, oh my gosh, 20 years ago, what is this? You have to have a college email to be accepted. And I still had my college email. So, um, saw that there was going to be a trend somehow in this internet digital world, went back to study what multimedia meant, what it is, how do you navigate like different teams, and how do you story tell on a website, how do you build a website, create emotion through different storytelling mediums. And eventually I started working, let's see, at I guess it's a tech company, working on the editorial team, writing stories, and that's when SEO became a thing. Eventually came into the tech world where I had the opportunity to grow a content team. So I really leveraged my foundation of storytelling from being at a television network and working at different magazines from a journalistic eye view, and then leaning into the days when I was at grad school. What does multimedia mean? How do you take these different storytelling strategies and put it onto a digital platform? And so, yeah, as you mentioned, I joined ManyChat team and then worked there for a few years while I got to build the content program from the pretty much the ground floor up. Made my way over to WorkRamp, where a similar situation. There was very little content strategy in place. They've done it. They did an excellent job getting it to level 1, and then it was time for 2.0. And I came in there and built it out, and it's been a really fun journey. Um, and here we are today, and I get to talk to you all about
Very
content.
cool. Yeah. How big is the team that you're managing right now?
Well, right now, team of two, but we do have several vendors and freelancers that I manage. My time at ManyChat was about a team of 7, so it
Mm.
just varies. Different organizations, whether it's large or small, sometimes they have huge content teams, smaller areas of marketing, or it's flipped. And as someone who's running the program, you learn how to be lean, mean. You learn how to leverage external resources if you can't have them internally. And those are just some things that I've learned how to navigate over the years in my career.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like right now that's sort of the model that's working for a lot of companies, especially smaller
Hmm.
companies or more lean companies, where you have a couple people that work for the company that really understand the vision and where the direction is kind of headed, and then you leverage a lot of external third party sort of other kind of pods, and so there's just all these pods working together providing services for each other, almost like fractional services. And that
Totally.
seems to be like a very efficient way that things are changing right now compared to getting somebody into the company and training them and putting them on a kind of consistent payroll. Is just like so much more flexible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's pros and cons, both, whichever direction you decide to go. Sometimes I look at, hey, we're going to spend X amount of money with this vendor, And with that vendor, we're getting 3 people to help us execute, opposed to if we spend that same amount of money and bring someone internally to do that job, we're not going to be able to scale as fast and produce content though as quickly as we need to, because in this world we have to be able to move quickly. You have to learn how to be efficient, scale while producing high quality content, and it's very challenging. People think anyone can do it, and it's anyone could make content, but not everyone can make great content, and that's the trick.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to stay away from the word, but it seems like a hot word right now, which is the whole AI thing, and
Oh yeah.
narrative and copywriting especially is so heavily affected with that. Google doesn't know what to do with it. So how does that change the landscape for you guys now, where you're trying to create a story and create that narrative and create high quality content? Meanwhile, there's just a lot of noise more than ever.
Oh yeah.
How do you pierce through that?
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this, because I don't know about anyone else, but if they just got news today that Google changed the algorithm to ding pretty much any type of website that is using AI heavily content. So there's the red flag right there. If you've been
Yeah.
relying on AI to create content, solely only to create content, and you're not using it for other purposes, Google is going to ding you. And that's going to hurt your website. That's going to hurt how people find you and search and all that stuff. So we've been using AI to help us brainstorm. We've been using AI to help us think, okay, this is our idea. Does it make sense? How can we spice it up a little bit? Can you give me 3 different phrases to use this one word? It's a great way to just really help you brainstorm and think of how to repurpose some of the ideas that you're creating. I know I've used AI to help me elaborate some of my video scripts, some of my outlines that we want to do for an ebook, or even an outline for what are the talking points that we want to do in this type of video that we're going to produce. So it's really helpful, especially as a small team. When
Mhm.
as a small team, you're doing a million things. You sometimes get brain fried. So it is a handy tool to help be that savvy sidekick to just get those creative juices flowing. It is not a tool, not yet at least. It might be maybe in 10 years, but it is not a tool right now to create 100% SEO first content. As we saw, Google made that change. So it is, again, a great tool to use for brainstorming, outlining, how to rephrase things, repurpose. Maybe you need to think through your subject line if you're sending an email, or you could ask ChatGPT or any type of AI tool, hey, does this sound good? Does this sound correct? This is the point I'm trying to get across. Any recommendations on how I can expand my thought or make it more direct and to the point? So there are a lot of great ways to use it,
Mm.
but do not use it to write an article 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been trying to figure out how they can possibly know. Like, how does Google know it's AI generated, especially when there's all these services that are saying, let me swap around the content in order so the systems don't pick up that it's AI generated. So it's like
Yeah,
multi-layer AI tools that are just kind of scrambling it. But I think that the way Google is doing it is probably seeing a lot of similar patterns between different pieces of content and saying, oh, these guys
sure,
are writing in the same type of way. And
sure.
they have to create an AI system to detect the AI system probably.
Sure.
So
Yeah. I
it's
think anyone I think anyone who might have used AI a lot lately and they're listening to us right now, they might be thinking in their head, "Oh, I know a few key phrases that are AI driven." And it's like in this world, or delve, unlock,
yeah.
unleash. And so you can kind of, just from the human eye, you can tell, and I'm sure there's many other patterns that we might not recognize that some of these savvy tools are able to pick up.
Yeah, when I'm seeing messages coming in from people who live in non-US countries and their
Hmm.
English is better than mine, I'm like,
Yeah, and proper
there's something.
grammar.
Yeah, their grammar is just so good. I was educated in the US and I'm just like, I can't write like that. So I guess either education's getting better or someone's using like these free tools. But anyway, let's talk about the Emmy. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody that was nominated for an Emmy. So how did you even get into all of
Thank
that?
you. Um, Thank you. So, early on in my career, I had an opportunity to work with a talented videographer and editor. His name is Von Ware, and he came from a sports background. He was a track and field athlete. He knew a lot of people in that world. And he came to me with, hey, I have this great story. I need a producer to help me get the story out there. And so we produced the story. And then there was the opportunity to submit it. And we submitted it. Lo and behold, we got the nomination. Didn't think we were going to receive anything. And just getting nominated is an honor in itself. And then we received the award, so it was a very exciting time. Uh, it was a story that for me was really interesting, and I was passionate. I'm an athlete at heart, and so being able to work in this sports world and hear this person's story was just really interesting, fun. And then I got to work with this brilliant man that just knew how to take the story and make it come to life on film. So it was fun, and it wasn't just me. There was a team that helped make everything come together. But it was such an honor, and I'm very proud of that
Wow,
part of my career.
that's amazing. It's so cool to get recognition for something that you do in your kind of professional world, right?
Yeah.
Did that kind of inspire you to want to go more into film and like kind of longer productions like that?
Yeah, so I I did want to like really go into that documentary world, and then I realized it's gonna be very hard to pay the bills, and I don't like
Mm.
living in LA. So I wanted to figure out how can I still do what I enjoy doing, but not have to work 3 jobs and not have to live in LA. And thankfully, at that point in time, that was, what, 2009, 10. So that was really when digital media was taking a front in so many different elements. And so I had this opportunity to take my craft and work with different wellness and fitness brands. And yeah, it just kind of everything just kind of landed in place as I was growing personally and professionally. But at the foundation, I really believed in I can tell a story and I have fun doing it. And hey, I can make this my full-time job. And I'm probably one of the few people who studied what they studied, whatever they studied in college and in grad school, and have made it a career somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Me personally, I never thought I'd end up in digital marketing. I studied philosophy in college.
Oh yeah, see,
So
very different.
very different. I mean, it's sort of the foundation for a lot of different things.
Sure.
With philosophy, you either become a teacher or a lawyer. So I was like, I don't want to be either one of those. So I guess I'll figure out something else. And then just kind of got into selling online, and it turned into a career.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'm just observing the patterns because work a lot with Amazon brands, e-commerce, and everything,
Mhm.
starting to expand more and trying to digest more on the social media front because that's an entire beast. And I started on Amazon, which is 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that was more of just like a listing aggregator, and you would just come on there to just find products. It was sort of like eBay but like more business oriented, I would say.
Mhm.
And now it's evolved so much, and branding and storytelling has really become a very integral part, especially with a lot of the developments that they've been releasing, like their Inspire platform, which is like a TikTok shopping knockoff type of thing, um, and many other things like Amazon posts, and they've really dialed in on the whole branding element. And so that's why I'm starting to say, all right, well, maybe Amazon really is just like a piece of the puzzle, and you have to have all these social media elements present. But I guess how valid is that? Like, what's your experience with how impactful social media truly is to a brand's development, and what are the levers that you would pull if you were operating a brand and trying to grow it from X to Y? What is the
Yeah.
thing that you would like tackle like right away?
Yeah. Well, one, I really do love how Amazon has evolved from just this like list to shopping to an experience.
Hmm.
It really does feel like you are somehow in a store where you get to see these videos, you get to see the reviews, but you don't get to touch the products. but it's as close to a digital experience as possible as in person. Um, so I love watching that platform just evolve to where it is today. Now, as far as social media, oh, I forget. I wish I remembered the CEO's name. He was actually one of our guest speakers at the Instagram summit when I was at ManyChat. And I remember he was talking about how imperative social media was for their brand because it was a window to capture the shopper, or the social media scroller. It's a window to capture them and then get them inside the door. So it's very similar to when we're walking the streets or at a mall, we see a really great window display and we're like, oh, that's a really nice sweater, those are cute shoes, the way they designed that, it stops you and then you make the decision, do I want to come in or not? And sometimes there's the sale sign, or there's some sort of call to action to get you into the store. And that's the same thing, if you want to think about it, that social media does. It's something to stop the person from doing whatever they are. It has to capture their attention, stop them. They might scroll the profile for a little bit just to see what it's all about, but if you really put time and effort to making that mesmerizing, and so to speak, like somehow to capture their attention and emotion and draw them in, then that is going to be huge for your brand, because they want to then go to your experience. What else can you offer? So it's really important. And now with social media, oh my goodness, there's so many different channels to capture people. You can, depending on who your target audience is and all that stuff, so you could leverage different channels to, hey, this is how we're gonna, if it's a clothing store, this is how we're gonna design, or this is how we're gonna style this sweater for an outfit for Sunday brunch or something like that. You can do these type of videos and give these tips, and people are gonna want that type thing. So it's really, really important. Now, if I were going into a brand, helping them get their Amazon going and social media going, before anything, I have to look at data. I have to know, where are the shoppers? What are their hobbies? What's their age range? What other stores do they shop at? What do they care about? Because that's going to help me figure out, one, how do we just even set up the Amazon storefront? What type of stuff do we want to set up on Amazon? What videos, photos, user generated content do we want to put on there first? And how do we want to get the messaging together? Once I get all that together, then I'm going to look at what channels, external channels, is the audience on. Yes, I do believe social media is very key for your overall content and brand strategy. It's a channel. It's just another way to leverage people to get them into your store. Um, there are how many millions of people on TikTok, millions on Instagram, even still on Facebook. So you have to understand the data first before you decide what channel to go on. Once you understand that, focus on one channel first, build that up, and then you can slowly build the other channels up, a second, third channel, but really understand and get that following, get that community going on that one channel first, so you can really own that space. And then you can replicate that strategy, maybe tweak it here and there for other social profiles.
So if you're already creating content that can be posted, just like slightly formatted and easily posted on the other platforms, you wouldn't do it?
No, I would definitely do it, but I would probably create certain content pieces specifically for one channel first and spend more time on that channel. For example, LinkedIn is a huge channel for us at WorkRamp. We have people on TikTok and on Twitter, or now X, and on Facebook. But we really make our content first for LinkedIn, and then we'll repurpose it for our other social channels. But we know that that's the more active channel. So we're going to put more time and effort making sure that everything adheres to that. Now, as we build up our other channels, we're going to probably change some things and then make specific content for that channel. Right now, we're working on YouTube. And so, yes, we've made social content specifically, or social videos specifically for LinkedIn. And then we realized YouTube is another social channel for us. So now we're creating video content specifically for YouTube and building that channel up, but we'll repurpose it on other channels for sure. But it's just, what channel is this going to first, and how are we going to talk about it on that channel? And then I'll go down the rabbit hole of repurposing it in
Makes
other
sense.
for other areas.
Great. Thank you for that distinction. So I guess with that being said, you said follow the data. So is it just casting a net, trying things out at first, like maybe equally, and then maybe doing a couple posts, doing a couple ads, looking at the
Mhm.
results, your own results, not like, seeing some kind of like RFs or one of those kind of platforms to look at the analytics, but actually your own content, test it out, and then say, oh, you know what? We're getting really low cost per click on Pinterest, but no conversions, and we're paying more money on Meta, but Meta's doing great for us. So let's focus on Meta. Is that the type of thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the if you're starting from scratch, you have to just you have to just pick a few things first, test out, and then redo it a little bit, test it again until you really get a deeper understanding. I like to give myself about 90 days
Mm-hmm.
before making a shift. I mean, some things you could definitely tell within a week. Okay, that's definitely not going
Mm-hmm.
to work for us, and we're going to stop using that. We're going to focus on this. Maybe we have to tweak the copy a little bit. There's so many variables. But yes, if you're starting from the ground up, you have to do trial and error because you don't know. You're not a mind reader. That would be amazing if someone was a mind reader and they could say, "Oh, I know exactly what our audience is wanting and needing, and I know our market fit," just like that,
Yeah.
without any information. That would be amazing. Um, but yeah, you're not going to have that information until you really get in the trenches. You try stuff out. The best way to learn is to fail.
Mm.
Um, a lot of there's a saying I say a lot to my team, and they sometimes will laugh or roll their eyes, but I always say you never know the flaw in your system until something goes wrong. And that's the only way we can make our system better. So I use that for content creation, ads, email, even just how we operate. Because you just never know how to make it better until something falls through the hole. And then you go, okay, now we need to tweak this a little bit.
Yeah. And it's your job, right, as the team lead to break things, right? People bring you stuff and you're
Yeah.
like, let's try to break it and see,
Yeah.
it only goes live once it's like bulletproof, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, probably early on, I did not want to get things wrong,
Yeah.
just because you just don't know. And I think we were grown up, or at least I at least grew up like having to have things perfect.
Mm.
And as I've grown in my career, nothing is perfect. Um, and it's okay if things are not perfect because that's how you just get better. I know some early on in my career, I made so many little typo mistakes when I was working for a magazine, and my editor was like, "Slow down. Like, in order for you to slow down, you can speed up." And I use that tip every single week. If I recognize I'm making little tiny mistakes, I'm like, I need to slow down, and then I can get better and speed up so I don't make these silly mistakes. And so we're human.
Yeah.
You're not a robot. You can't be perfect.
Yeah, it's so funny how things work like that. I mean, even learning an instrument or learning any new thing, sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm stuck at this place. And then, all right, let me just walk away for a day or two. And then you come back and it's like you know it, right? Like
Huh?
your system needs time to just kind of digest it, even while you
Yeah.
sleep or something. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
And we sometimes we need to just kind of like take a step back and look at the bigger picture and see how things fit together for it to make sense versus trying to like kind
Totally.
of push it through. So I
Totally.
definitely have that experience as well. Um, okay, very cool. So I guess what. Tell us a little bit about WorkRamp. Like what do you guys do? Because you're kind of a learning platform, which is very different than a lot of other kind of companies in this type of sector. So how do you guys provide your service to? I mean, what kind of clients do you service?
So WorkRamp is a learning cloud platform where it's an all-in-one solution where we provide HR leader people teams the tool, the platform for them to do onboarding, enablement, and upskilling or talent development. And then we have our customer learning cloud, which is for customer success teams to create like a customer academy, just ways to educate their customers so their customers can then learn how to use their product and adopt their product and be successful. So we were able to cover the internal learning and then the external learning. Um, so that's pretty much the product. Who we are selling to is HR leaders, sales leaders, customer success leaders. Everyone needs learning. Everyone needs to learn how to use a product. So you might not recognize you're using the WorkRamp platform, but you might be using it just because if you're, let's see, trying to figure out how to do something on Amazon, like you just onboarded with some tool and you're going through the steps of how to use whatever tool it is, they might be using WorkRamp to train you on how to use their product for you to sell. So that's similar. We at the time WorkRamp was when I was at ManyChat, I didn't use WorkRamp. We actually just created our video course for customers and hosted it on the ManyChat website. But it's similar. We saw the opportunity to help our customers learn how to better use that product. And so we created those videos so that, hey, this is how you use chat marketing for your Amazon store. This is how you use chat marketing for your SMS. And so that's exactly same thing WorkRamp does, except we're a platform and we again sell to our HR people, team leaders, sales and enablement leaders, and then the customer success. And and we just launched compliance too. So we now sell into compliance leader teams as well.
Cool. So it's mostly for SaaS, it sounds like, right? Or
SaaS, we do have, originally was SaaS, but we have been branching out to other industries who are leveraging our platform because everyone needs harassment training, compliance training, security training. Everyone needs to learn how to use a product that you just purchased. So teams like hotel industries, healthcare, they are seeing that the value of our tool, they need to use it for their internal team or they need to use it for a customer academy type thing.
mm. And with ManyChat, I mean, I know you haven't been with them in a while, but they've really, like, I was so surprised to log in, and they've evolved so much, right?
Yeah,
They started
it's
out as just like a kind of breakthrough chatbot system, which I think they might have been the first ones, if not the first, and one of the right? Is that right?
Yeah, it was one of the first, and they started originally on Telegram. It was a great story. Started originally on Telegram, saw the opportunity to pivot to the, at that time, Facebook world. Now it's Meta.
Mhm.
But yeah, they were one of the first. There was another competitor, but they were one of the first tools to break out in that space and really leverage a global presence. That we in Latin America was a huge presence for us there because so many people use a chatbot in Latin America and so many other countries. So it was very eye opening. I actually realized when I was working there how behind the US market was to adopt this type of tool for a shopping experience or even just for lead capturing. It was very eye-opening for me to see how ManyChat was definitely in the forefront for a lot of yeah, lead generation and just customer service in a way, and just to help businesses grow in such an easy way. They definitely, since I left, have gone to the next level. They're doing amazing things. I'm so happy to be on the sideline watching the team continue to grow and do really cool things with that product.
Yeah, I mean, I've logged in, and there's some things which I don't even know what they're talking about, you know? It's not just like, "Oh, you wanna try SMS marketing now." It's like all these other type
Hmm.
of new things. So, I mean,
Yeah,
they got a head start, and they're just kinda leveraging that momentum, I think, still.
yeah,
So, pretty amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very cool to watch them do that. Yeah.
they were really popular amongst a lot of Amazon sellers. So like
Hmm.
maybe about 5 years ago, the whole search, find, buy thing was really, really popular. I don't know if you heard about that, or if you know.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody was just like, all right, ManyChat, and set up like find buyers and tell them to search this keyword. And Amazon caught on eventually. Um, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
was
It
gonna
was
say there were some loopholes because I remember we did a lot of customer stories, and I spoke with 3 or 4 top selling Amazon folks, and there were loopholes. The Amazon definitely caught on, but then they figured out other ways to use it, to find the right people to go shopping, doing that, just to leverage the product. So I think they also said that Zapier was an excellent integration tool for them to connect the dots, and that actually still helped them sell more than when they weren't using it. So it's still a great tool, and that was eye opening to me. When I was consulting for an organization. They sold like medical braces, like knee braces, elbow braces, and stuff, and we used Amazon. We didn't have a tool like ManyChat when I was there. And then when I got into ManyChat, I remember, wow, if only I had been able to use this, the team would have just probably maybe doubled their growth, because it was just a very powerful way to capture audiences and speed up the way to sell. And that's ultimately what you need to do on Amazon. It's huge. I don't know how many people use that platform now, but it's very large. So you need to
mm,
think differently. You need to set yourself apart from your competitors on that space.
right. Cool. I have one question, kind of zooming out,
Hmm.
because you've been in the industry for a long time. Um, if you had to do it all over again, and you know you knew that you would follow this career path, being in marketing and being kind of a part of all this evolution, what would you maybe change along the path, or advise somebody? It's more about like, what would you advise somebody who's about to enter into this? Because there's so many, the new generation is coming out of college all the time, of course, but it's a different world now with AI being introduced, with social media, how quickly it's evolving. Marketing, that profession is huge, and it's changed so much. So anybody who's entering in, or yourself from the past, like, what would you kind of give, like a piece of advice, like how do you navigate these waters for what's to come? Because in 10 years it's going to be so different as well, right? So what can somebody do if they want to become a digital marketer successfully, and kind of walk this road with all of the craziness all around?
So if someone's coming into their career into digital marketing, you probably already know so much from the technology standpoint. Um, so, growing up, that generation, this generation entering the workforce had computers and laptops, touch screens when they were little. We didn't have that. So the fact that they understand technology, you're a step ahead from where I began. I mean, I learned how to do typewriting on a old school typewriter. I had to use whiteout and stuff.
Yeah.
So I applaud them. They are very tech savvy. Um, and they've been in front of social media and all these really innovative storytelling platforms. So I don't really think that they have any they have only advantage, is what I'm trying to say, because that's been their world for so long. The thing is, you have to be comfortable with change. I learned this very early in my career. I probably learned this in college because I was such a perfectionist that I had to learn things are going to change. You have to go with the flow. You can't say no, this is my way or the highway. You could do that, but then you might be out of a job. So you just have to be really willing to go with the flow. Technology changes. Just like this past year and a half, we saw AI come into our world. I know some individuals who have not leaned into AI, and they're behind the curve now. And it's only been maybe 18 months. So it's really, you have to learn to adapt, welcome the change, not be afraid to, again, fail as you're learning some of this stuff. One thing I wish I did more of, and I'm guilty, I am so bad at this to this day, and I'm trying every day to do this, is to not be a workaholic. I probably work 50, 60 hours a week. It's not healthy. I need to learn to take a step back. I try my best, but I just love what I do. And sometimes I burn out. So for young individuals to find that balance, and I do learn from the younger generation how they put themselves first sometimes. Um, I had a CEO, or no, excuse me, a CMO at one point tell me it's okay to say no when people request projects. You just say, okay, I'll put this in the backlog. And in 2 weeks, when I'm coming up to my next sprint, I'll look at this and then see how I can tackle this and give you input because these are my priorities. So I wish those were a couple of things I knew from the get go. I said yes to everything. I burnt out. I was working 50, 60 hours a week. I still work that I still work a lot now, but it's more so because I just love it. But I have learned to say no. I'm gonna parking lot that, and when I get around to it, give me 3, 4 days, get around to it, and then we can discuss, and I can give you a better answer. But early on in your career, you want to please everyone, so you say yes, yes, yes,
Mm.
and then you under deliver, which is not a good look.
Yeah.
So anyone starting out, I'm not worried about the new generation learning technology. They've seen that through their whole personal career of, like, in school, they had to learn on computers and all this new all these new tools that they use for school and stuff. That's what I'm trying to say in a very long way. So just be comfortable with change, be comfortable to say no. You don't need to work 40 hours a week. If it's your own business, that's one thing. But if you're working for someone else, you don't need to work 40 hours a week, or no, you need to work 40 hours a week. You don't need to work 50, 60 hours a week because you're going to burn out. So just find that balance so you don't kill yourself and make yourself sick.
Especially with remote work, right? If you're
Oh,
already,
goodness. Yes.
yeah, because you're using the same tools and you're probably like you're in your home, so it's as though work kind of seeps into your life, and it's hard. Like if you're, especially like when you have like business or work contacts on your WhatsApp. And so you're
Yeah.
texting on WhatsApp with your family members or your friends, and then it's like a work message pops up and they ask a question. So then it's like the lines become so blurred, and it's almost as though you're never really off work. And so like
Right.
for me, that's been like a massive thing, is like really creating like a very psychological barrier where it's like I'm just not going to respond to messages after 7 p.m. I might glance at it uh, in case it's like a fire, because it is my business and I have
Right.
responsibilities. So yeah, if there's serious issue, right? But if it's just like, hey, I can find this in the Google Drive, it's like that can wait till tomorrow.
That's a tomorrow problem.
Yeah, exactly. Or that's a in 2 weeks problem, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. But
Yeah.
for me, it's been more even just on the granular level, just like on a daily basis. How do you not blur that line? How do you make clarity between like those priorities?
So,
Yeah.
as a creative, it's very hard to shut things off. I kid you not, people might hear you say, they may have heard this, like, always have a notepad next to your bed because you might have an idea and you need to write it down. I kid you not, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll wake up from a dream and I'm like, that is a great idea, and I will write it down. Um, if you're in the digital marketing world, especially creating content, you really aren't going to shut off. That's just the name of the game. I mean, look at anywhere you go, you're going to see ads. You can, if you're on Spotify, listening to podcasts, you listen to ads, you listen to storytelling, you see storytelling when you're driving on billboards. Um, Commercials, if people still watch regular TV, there are ads on TV, there are commercials, there's messaging. When you're on Instagram, you get ads. So as a creative, you're seeing storytelling 24/7. And so you might not know it, but you could say, wow, that's a really good story they're telling. Wow, that's a great pun. Oh, that's hilarious. And that's a way for you to find inspiration. And then that's a way for you to get your wheels turning for whatever you're working on in your day-to-day professional career. So you never shut it off. I never shut it off. I have text messages with friends and different networking groups like, oh, I just went to the park today. I saw this happen, and I'm thinking I want to bring that into this campaign idea. And that's just when I'm walking the dog type scenario. So the best way, yes, my world is blended 100%. I love it. But what helps me is, okay, I need to put my computer down. I'm going to go for a walk. If I have ideas, I'll voice memo it. I'll write, or I'll type it in my notepad or text the idea to someone. That's that way, excuse me, that way it's out of my mind and I have it down, and then I can come back to it later on that day or tomorrow, because it's a great idea. Um, I also have to set time on my calendar to check email. So I used to check email all the time, even at nighttime when I'm watching TV or if I'm at the gym or something. I give myself 2 blocks throughout the day to check my email. So then I can shut off. So it's first thing in the morning. I give myself an hour to check my email and I check Slack. And then at the end of the day, check my email, check Slack, and I don't do it any other time. I won't if it's 8 o'clock at night, I'm not checking it. I check it around 4:30 and about 7:30 in the morning. That's about it. Every now and then someone might ping me on Slack, hey, did you see that email? I'll go check it when I have a break. But I used to be neurotic about checking email all the time. And when you work from home, you can't, because
Mm.
then you're going to be constantly thinking about that problem. So that's been very productive for me. But the creative side just never shuts off, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
that's,
really especially like that last piece about the email. I mean, I think for me that's a big one. I think for a lot of people it's a big one because that really does blur the lines. Like when you have
yeah,
constantly, because you don't notice it's a small problem, right? It's not a big problem. Most of the time, people are just like asking a question. Like for me, it's a client. They have a question,
mhm,
or somebody on the team has a question, and I don't mind to answer the question. But if you have 10 questions, or 20, or 30 questions that you're answering throughout the day, you're kind of using up your reserves for right. Like there's only so many
mhm,
problems and questions that you can answer throughout the
yeah,
day, and then
yeah.
and then it's like by the time you get home, someone in your personal life might ask you a question, and then you're like, I don't have space for that anymore. I just
I
answered
can't
too
do
many
it.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, when I actually did go into an office, I don't know, even sometimes from work being remote, I give myself about an hour before I talk to anyone, because it's just I'm exhausted. I'm talking, I'm answering questions. And in my personal life, I have told my friends, I make decisions all day long. I don't want to decide where we're going to dinner. I don't want to decide what hotel we're staying at if we're going on a trip. I don't want to make these decisions because my brain is fried from making
Hmm.
decisions 9 to 5. So
Yeah.
it's exhausting. And when I ran my own business years ago, I had an away message um, active 100% of the time. And it said, thank you for your email. To be more productive and to savor my creative juices, I only check my email between this hour and this hour. And then I say, if it's an emergency, feel free to text me. Otherwise, you can expect an email back between these hours. And those were my office hours. And it worked well. My clients at that point understood. I think maybe I had 2 clients reach out to me via text message for some sort of emergency, like the website broke and we needed to get the website up and running type situation. But yeah, most people are very respectful if you just set a clear boundary about that stuff.
Yeah, and you're doing it for the right reasons, right? You're trying to preserve your creative fire, right? You're not
Yeah.
you're not like on vacation somewhere. You're still working, but
Right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think some people when they really think about it is like, they hired you. Do you want your agency or your company that you are paying monthly to work on your stuff, or sit and wait for your messages? You'd
Right.
rather the company's working, and then at the end they'll just like comment on your thing. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
that's some juicy insights. Thank you. I think we're heading up on time here. So um, maybe we can continue this on another date. I really like the conversation. I really appreciate you hopping on and sharing all these nice nuggets of gold from all your years of experience. Thank you, Farah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. This was great, and happy to chat anytime about any type of content and brand marketing stuff.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good one. See you in the next one.